Boom, what's up everybody, welcome back to the vlog. Today's a very special day. I'm going to be doing a video on my cars in particular today. Today I am going to be going over the 5 pros and 5 cons of owning an E92 or E9X model M3. This is mine. This is a 2012 E92 M3 in competition package. I'm gonna be going over today with the 5 pros and 5 cons of owning it. So I've put about 19,000 miles on this car, and I've owned it for roughly about 19 months. So 1,000 miles a month, it's not too bad. So within that time, I've been able to really experience, and that's why I'm actually able to really do this video as a kind of an in-depth about owning this car. So the first pro of this car is the styling of it. Now clearly it is a beautiful car, and to me it is one of my most favorite BMWs out there and one of the best M's. And in my opinion, this is where the M kind of died for me. I'm sorry for those F80 fans out there and even the G fans out there, but for me, my experience, this is where the BMW motorsport heritage ended. So the style of the car for me is the best of the both worlds, and for me, my first car was the E36, and then I did own an E46. To me, this is the best of both platforms. It has the style of it, it's nice and round, and so it has very good body lines on the car. So that's the first pro of this car. The second pro is the solid feeling of this car. Now this car feels very solid out the door. When you first own this car, you'll feel that the weight of this car, definitely it is a bigger car, way bigger than E36, and it is bigger than E46. That's why this car also feels a lot more solid in my opinion. When you're driving it through the canyons, it's awesome. Even before when I had the Cajun put into it, as you can see, which I will go over a bit later. But the car is a very sturdy platform, and it's a great platform to build on for sure. With that being said, third pro of this car is, now for those of you who have owned this car, or for those of you who wanting to buy it, you will understand that one of the best things about this car is that awesome German brutal V8 sound that is produced with the S65 motor in this car. Now it is the best sounding BMW in my opinion, other than probably the V10 M5 M6s. Wait, you know what, I would take that back. I would say the E39 M5 is also probably a rough, very good second place in my opinion. So the sound of this car is awesome, and I would highly recommend to exploit the sound of this car, you would get an exhaust the first thing you do when you're buying this car. Now there's a lot of exhausts out there. In my opinion, the top ones would be a Meister Shaft, which I have on here right now, or an RPI exhaust sounds great too. So I would highly suggest that'd be some of the first thing you buy for this car is an exhaust. Now with that being said, let's go into the fourth pro. Now the fourth pro of owning this car is the overall experience of owning it. To me, this is a very this was a staple in BMW motorsports history. The E9X platform is definitely by far one of the best platforms. Looks, style, sound, everything. It has a bit of everything for the actual BMW enthusiasts. I'm not saying that anything with the F80s or the new Gs, but I mean, if you're a real true BMW fan and just a lover of the whole car, a real BMW enthusiast, you would understand why I'm saying that. To each his own. People might have a different reasoning for why they choose, or why they might not think this is a good platform, or you know, whichever. But that's my fourth pro of this car. Now let's get into the fifth pro right now. The fifth pro of this car is I would really say is probably the biggest pro for me. As you know, all the new cars coming out, especially with BMW, they are all turbo, and with that turbo sound you kind of lose a lot of the grunt and the power of the BMW engine. Yes, a lot of the new cars are a lot faster, 0 to 60 whatever. To me, it's more than just a 0 to 60 when you call yourself a BMW enthusiast. A real BMW enthusiast will appreciate the car for its total package, not just for the speed of it. Now that's why I would highly suggest, well in my opinion, this is one of the last true bred BMW motorsport cars, because this is the last naturally aspirated V8 engine that BMW will ever produce. Now, with the pros being done, now let's get into the cons of owning this car. Alrighty, so now the 5 cons of owning this vehicle. And I would honestly say my number 1 con of this car is the maintenance on this car and the preventive maintenance that the car does need. Now, for me, I've only replaced the rod bearings on this car. I haven't had a reason to replace anything else, and obviously when you do the rod bearings, they also change the oil pan gaskets, the engine mounts, stuff like that, the little things. But I've never had anything wrong. I've never had anything else wrong with the car, knock on wood. A lot of people say the throttle actuators go bad on this car. My throttle actuators have not went bad on this car yet, and no signs of nothing like that. The fuel breather valve, I believe that's what it is. There's another thing people say that goes wrong with this car. And so let me tell you about those 2 things. Now, the throttle actuators, a lot of people when they drive this car, they love to drive it on the MDM mode, motorsport dynamic mode. And when you drive that, the car will blip to rev match. And every time you do that, it's unnecessary stress on the actuators. So a lot of people just drive around all day like that, and then you wonder why they burn out so quick on some cars. You hear cars about the throttle actuators going bad at like 40,000 miles, 30,000 miles. And some people have never even had them go bad, and it all honestly depends on how you drive the car. For me, I don't really mess around with the MDM mode. For me, this car is great as is. It does help having a tune on it. I do have a VF Engineering tune for the DME and DCT on this car, which helps. But other than that, to prolong the throttle actuator problem, I would suggest don't be driving on MDM mode all the time. What do you expect to happen when it's just little gears that are blipping every single time you're downshifting? I would honestly suggest, if you own canyons or when you're on the track, use the MDM mode. Other than that, wear and tear. The fuel breather valve, unlike everything, what you put in, the trash you put in is the trash you get out. Now, people will be the one thing that I don't understand about people, I'm sorry if it's whatever, but going to multiple gas stations to get gas. Now, for me, I only stick with Texaco, Chevron gas. Pretty much they're all the same. They're both the same. When I see people going to Arco, stuff like that, come on, you're putting dirty fuel in your car. The injectors in these cars are tiny. You don't want to put dirty fuel in and put clean fuel. Trust me, you really tell the difference if you try to stick to one type of fuel. Now, with that being said, also if you wait till your car's all the way on E, then you fill up your gas, you'll start to see a fluctuation in that too. That's because you have a bunch of dirt on the bottom of the tank that gets mixed up once the fuel goes in the car. So, to avoid those 2 issues, don't run MDM mode all the time. Don't be trying to rev matching when you're in the city driving, because that's unnecessary strain on the throttle actuators. Stick to one type of fuel in your car. Don't be putting all the types of fuel in this car, because you'll get issues because of that. Now, with that being said, let's get into the second con of owning this car. Now, those of you who either have aux or Bluetooth, I'm gonna tell you one thing for sure about this car: the Bluetooth connectivity blows. The aftermarket radio in my car, which is an old aftermarket radio in my E36, the Bluetooth connects right away. This one, oh my god, don't even get me started, it's trash. So I like Bluetooth. People say, oh, it compresses the sound, blah blah, whatever, man. I like the Bluetooth, I don't like cords, but if you really want the best audio, definitely I would suggest use an aux cable for this car, because the Bluetooth connectivity, 2 thumbs down. Now, with that being said, let's get into the third con of this car. Third con of this car, the rear sunshade. Now, if BMW was completely terrible, one thing with this car is the rear sunshade is completely trash. It goes up, it works, but don't ever try to put it back down, because 9.5, damn, even 10 times out of 10, the rear sunshade will not go back down. You have to get in there and squeeze the arms together, and someone pushes the button, or you're doing like one of the, the rear sunshade on this car is completely trash. Now, I'm not the only one with this problem. If you have an E90 platform that your rear sunshade works, dude, like you're lucky as hell. But yes, it's a very small con, but hey, it's a con nonetheless. And that's what also is going to lead me into my fourth con of owning this car. Now, for those of you who've owned this car or thinking about buying this car, one of the other things other than an exhaust I would suggest buying are brakes. The stock brakes on this car are completely trash. Now, I'm not saying you have to upgrade to a big brake kit, but definitely you need to get new pads, because the stock pads on this car are trash. The car is definitely too heavy for the braking system that's on here, and I don't know what BMW was thinking on it. They've definitely, I would say they have assessed that problem in the newer models, but for the E90 platform, they did not assess that. So buy steel braided brake lines and buy new pads are a must for this car if you want to do any type of real performance driving for it. With that being said, let's get into the next con of this vehicle. The fifth con of owning this car, which is also the Pro, which is the con because of the Pro. Now, as I've told you before, this is an S65 V8 motor, and for those of you who know V8 engines, they will burn gas. So do expect to have deep pockets for gas on this car, especially if you plan on driving it as a daily driver, because it'll eat gas. And then with the gas prices of today, yeah, it's not really fuel efficient or economy friendly either. So definitely keep that in mind. Owning this car, obviously you know what I'm talking about, or if you plan, it's mainly for people who plan on buying this car. If you plan on buying this car, have deep pockets for gas, especially if you want to daily drive it, because it will eat it like there's no tomorrow. Other than that, owning this car is a complete dream. This was my dream BMW since the first day I saw it out back in 2008, mid 2008, when I was just getting out of high school. I love this car. I fell in love with this car, and I told myself one day I will own it, and boom, here you go. Every day is a dream driving this car. I cannot speak of anything really bad about this car. As you can tell, my cons, I was nitpicking at it. I haven't really had any issues with this car, thank God, knock on wood. But it's a magnificent car. Treat it well. For those people who are planning to buy it, please, you will need, I would suggest the first thing you do is get the rod bearings done on this car. It is a must. If I could honestly say one other con to this car, I would say that $2,000 for some reason is how much all the maintenance calls on this car. Rod bearings $2,000, throttle actuators $2,000. A lot of the mods are $2,000 for this car. Brake pads cost around $2,000. Pads and rotors when you replace all four. So definitely this car needs type of a sugar daddy when owning it, as much as most BMWs do. But take care of the car and it will take care of you. Now, with that being said, I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Please smash that like button and please subscribe as well. It'll help me out greatly, and I do greatly appreciate it. If you guys want any more videos on this car, do let me know. I am going to do another video of the things I've done to this car, and that will be for next day. With that being said, thank you very much. Have a great one. Peace.